Hi, you probably know that BBK owns Vivo, OnePlus and Oppo brands. We've had smartphones of the last two back in 2019 and early 2020, but today, for the first time on the channel, here's the review on Oppo Reno2, which costs over 600 bucks. It is a lot, especially with Xiaomi making its way all around. As always, welcome to Tech Fellas, mine is Bogdan and let's tech into it. The outer look tells us that engineers had no wish to create the brightest, colorful and eye-catching style. When you play too much with some Huawei or Redmi for instance, the simple things become the most wanted. We had exactly that feeling with Reno 2. But don't worry, it's not just a black piece of glass. At some angles it shimmers with blue lights and the strip with company's logo is also shining, however not over the edge. The back of the phone is made of Gorilla Glass 5 when the front has got the 6th gen glass. Looking on the design of the back, it is a rare case when camera set is not a separate island that butts a few millimeters out of the body. All the lenses here are simply behind the back of the phone. Why this way is not that popular? Cause the glass tends to scratch a lot when the phone is dropping on the table. Oppo dealt with it in quite an unusual but elegant way. Down the cameras there's a small bubble-like nipple that was mistaken by me for a little fingerprint reader at first. However, it is exactly here for making a slight room between the phone and dirty surface. It has no effect on the way we hold the phone, looks cool and actually does its job successfully. Not the most standard, pop-up camera also works neatly. In many similar smartphones it jumps like a drawer from the table, while this phone uses a pivoting mechanism. How handy is it? Only the time will show, but in theory such a solution is better than what we are used to. Firstly, the spinning axis is fixed on the body and acts like a foothold. Secondly, the whole piece with camera itself and other components is relatively large. Thirdly, inside there is a spring that will protect the system from damage if you try to close it by force. Unless the camera crawls out of the body not instantly, therefore even the lovers of face recognition will most likely prefer to use a fingerprint reader. In general, although the solution is not ideal, it definitely has advantages. Regarding the fingerprint scanner, it is optical, lives under the screen and works just okay. You can't call it super fast, even comparing with similar sensors in other smartphones there is a delay, but you can live with it, I promise. The work is stable, no questions to it, and cause it's not made by ultrasonic technology, any protective film or glass can be put on top and won't prevent the whole process. What is obvious due to the location of the scanner, display here is OLED, diagonal is 6.5 inches, resolution is Full HD+, and aspect ratio 20:9. It's a high quality screen, except the well-known flaws of this technology. At the sweeping glance, the picture throws blue and green colors. That's basically the only visible drawback. The brightness range is not the widest, but the maximum upper and lower peaks allow you to work normally with Reno 2 both in the dark and in the daytime under direct sunlight. By default, the picture here is suddenly not too saturated. The colors are a bit more vibrant than in most LCD screens, but looking at AMOLEDs, I must admit that they are close to natural here. There are two modes for color adjustment settings, vivid or gentle one. Why such naming? Ask me when I'm old, but in fact these are renamed DCI-P3 and sRGB modes. You can also enable DC dimming in settings that will cut out PWM at low brightness. Everyone's favorite always on display is here as well. Pity that all you can do with it is to simply turn on and off. There are no settings, skins and many other things related to this feature, even the brightness level is fixed. Now it's a hardware time. Inside there's Qualcomm Snapdragon 730G chipset, 8GB of RAM and the storage that can be either 128 and 256 gigs, that with both should be enough to forget about memory card and easily use dual SIM. In real life this hardware shows quite high performance. In daily tasks it is almost impossible to set difference in response between this device and some flagship. The launch speed and smooth work of apps can raise questions only in heads of the most spoiled seekers of lost frames. In games I sincerely wanted to mention FPS number from World Tanks Blitz, but Wargaming doesn't even care that most smartphones today have rounded edges of the screen, and in our case the digits behind the edge are just can't be seen. So I'll tell you the facts. The phone can hold soberly around 10 fights in a row on top-end graphics. Given that we deal with not the best hardware, I'm almost sure that there are some drawdowns, but none of such were spotted by us. Call of Duty also plays cool, as well as Asphalt 9 doesn't lag at all. In short, it knows how to please an average gamer, Regarding all games in the world, I have no answer, but I'm sure that after our test you know exactly whether it's a deal for you or not. I can also say that the phone doesn't do much in heating, so no hard feelings for your hands definitely. All this couldn't be possible without a battery, right? A couple of words about it. 4000 mAh make Reno2 last for a day if you totally go into the draining mode, and almost 2 days if you're not an aggressive user. With always on display turned on in standby, device loses about 20-25% in 24 hours, which is actually a lot. This definitely can be improved. When playing games, the smartphone's discharge is pretty slow, 1% per 3 minutes of pixel fight in World Tanks Blitz. How's the sound in headphones? Actually quite good in total. There's a slight raise at low frequencies, but without cut faded highs that can even bite your ears with the right chosen music. By the standards of smartphones, the sound comes out as it should be, without dusting and flavoring. In settings you can find Dolby Atmos, which traditionally makes everything only worse. Anyway, this is our opinion and I still recommend you to try it out, who knows whether you like it or not. As for the speakers, it is only a multimedia one that sings, however quite loud I must admit. You are unlikely to miss notifications or an incoming call, but I cannot call this sound very pleasant. At maximum volume the speakers doesn't rattle, but it becomes sharp and biting. If you really want to watch a video without connecting the headphones, I recommend at least not to set the sound to its maximum. This way it's definitely better for your ears. Moving on to cameras. According to manufacturer, they are the features of this model. What to say, here we have ultra-wide, regular wide and telephoto cameras. The first one takes a bit worse pics than the main. In particular, dynamic range in ultra-wide one is more narrow and it loses in details. Actually, other results couldn't possibly fit here, as the main camera is for 48 megapixels, and not only Oppo, even Apple and Samsung smartphones also can't give the same quality wide-angled photos as the one coming from their main cams, so we decided to give it a break, yet we saw far worse difference in quality between ultra-wide and regular lens. The main camera has OIS, it shoots well enough but doesn't try to be a superhero who can do everything by himself, that's why Auto HDR is okay to use in Reno2. Photos have decent details and surprisingly large depth of the field, as for an aperture f1.7. Noise reduction work is noticeable, but it doesn't go nuts, so there is no smearing. In general, photos deliver a natural picture, post-processing doesn't have any major impact that I would send to advantages. Telephoto lens is quite standard, with 2x optical zoom. All that makes subjects be even closer is the software crop and sharpening. I can't say anything bad about this camera unless the lack of stabilization, that would be handy in cold windy weather. 4K video comes only out of the main cam, the ultra-wide one will agree to take clips only if you set the quality to Full HD. We didn't compare Reno2 to any other smartphones yet, but I must say that Oppo and OnePlus have one thing in common: video stabilization. Reno2 successfully applies it, not without drawbacks, but in total making a high standard picture. Just for you to know, stabilization works by means of cropping the video with software that affects the clarity, but this is how it works, and I have no more claims. Front-facing camera also does well, selfies come out pretty detailed and the background is blurring just fine. If the model is standing in light, he, she or it doesn't become a big white spot, that is already a big deal, and overall the dynamic range plays its role good enough here. Regarding the software, the firmware is visually different from many others, but the list of functions is almost limited at the range of main things. Among something really important, the control buttons can be changed to kinda pixel keys or to gestures like everyone else has. In the end, you'll have to deal with regular Android, the system works snappy, notifications come adequately, and I haven't noticed any major lags during the use. Just in case, I'll remind you that NFC is included, so it will be possible to buy some snacks in a shop and then tickets to the cinema without cash or credit cards. Summarizing the stuff, when you deal with Xiaomi, your mind doesn't quickly realize how the smartphone that costs more than $1,000 comes without the top hardware. Having such thoughts and still not watching this from Mi 9 should be a bummer. For sure, Reno2 doesn't boast with the best chip, however, I never felt the lack of performance from it. It has nice cameras, high quality bezel-less screen and even the witty sliding out mechanism. What could have been better is a battery life and the cost. For me the smartphone is not ideal, but just good, so I will leave the links to internet stores for buying in the description box below. And if you like this video, then why not to support our channel by subscribing to it, hitting the like button and ringing the bell to stay tuned for more cool content. My thanks for watching and cheers!